Today I'm going to be talking about 4 iconic characters who I have long loved and why in my head they are cousins. According to Google, when used metaphorically, cousins can refer to something that is closely related, similar to something else, and they often share characteristics. And these 4 characters definitely share a lot of similarities. When I watched their respective shows, A Different World, Half and Half, The Cosby Show, and Girlfriends, I found myself kind of gravitating towards the 4 of them, and I realized that I gravitated towards them for very similar reasons. And while Freddie and Denise are from the same universe and kind of like the same shows technically, Denise is only in season 1 of A Different World, and season 2 and beyond of A Different World is a completely different show. Now, I will say Lynn is a little bit of an outlier. When I first watched Girlfriends, I was not that fond of Lynn actually. However, I have since rewatched Girlfriends more times than I can count, and I have really come to love Lynn. Starting off strong with their fashion, I feel like their style is one of the main ways I think they overlap. I am by no means a fashion expert. I did take a couple fashion electives when I was in school, but still not an expert by any means. If my professor saw this, she'd probably be very proud, but that's about it. We're here for fun. To describe their style, I would say it's very bold, very earthy, and very boho, and it appears almost effortless. As you can see here, they wear a lot of muted colors, but it's feel like each of their characters aren't afraid to play with bright colors either, and they also aren't afraid to play with different patterns and stuff like that. So with Denise specifically, we noticed that a lot of her clothes tend to be very free-flowing and sometimes even baggy. Mona's clothes are typically more form-fitting in comparison, and I feel like Lynn kind of plays with the combination of both of these things, and I would say the same for Freddie as well. So moving on to their hair, it is very obvious that Freddie and Mona's hair is very similar. While Denise, Mona, and Freddie's hair had more volume to it, Lynn kind of had more of a wavy look. We see Mona explore the wavy look as well. And sometimes we'd see Lynn with these kind of boho braids, which reminded me a lot of Denise with the faux locks she had on The Cosby Show. I would say Denise and Lynn are probably the most versatile with their hair in the group. On The Cosby Show, we see Denise experiment with a lot of looks. We see her have long hair, short hair. We see her try out different headbands and all of that kind of stuff. I would say the same with Lynn. While Lynn's look was more consistent than Denise's look, I do think we see Lynn kind of experiment and explore different hairstyles. Just like right here, we see her with kind of the Camp Rock Mitchie bangs, even though I guess they're Lynn bangs because Lynn came first. And Half and Half, it kind of sucks because they often make a lot of jokes pertaining to Mona's hair, and I just never understood that because I thought her hair was so pretty and I was very inspired by her. Moving on to their personalities, I would say this is why they are cousins, because although they are very similar, I do feel like there are some ways in their personalities in which they are very different. I would say though the traits that overlap the most are their free-spirited nature, the fact that they are all very fun, they're very quirky, impulsive, and just unconventional in general. I feel like the awkward trait, I feel like Denise is exempt from this. I don't really look at Denise as an awkward character, but I feel like Mona, Lynn, and Freddie, they were a little bit awkward, but I feel like it was still very endearing. And I kind of want to emphasize that although Lynn shares a lot of characteristics with them, I feel like there's a lot of things that Lynn did that the other 3 would never do. So when it comes to their backgrounds, I feel like Denise has the most unique situation out of all of the characters because Denise comes from a 2-parent home with a mom who is a lawyer and a dad who is a doctor. So it's kind of funny because, Denise is so different than her parents, I would say, versus we have Freddie, who we never see Freddie's dad, I don't believe, or I don't know if we even get mention of him, but we do see Freddie's mother. It's kind of easy for viewers to understand why Freddie is the way she is when we see her mother, because Freddie is just like her mother, versus with Denise, her parents are nothing like her. Now, I will say Lynn kind of has a similar situation to Denise in the sense that she did come from a 2-parent home. Lynn had 2 loving adoptive parents. However, she's still different from her in the sense that, throughout the show and Girlfriends, we kind of see Lynn kind of struggle to find her birth family and just find her identity in general. And then I would say Mona has a very unique situation because Mona has like this strained but blended family. So going back to them being unconventional, I'd say when it came to their careers, they were all very non-traditional in their own way. You know, Lynn struggled to find her purpose, and the few times she did, it was with her documentary and later with her music. And Mona, although she had like a very clear path of like what she wanted, she had a very unique job, you know, working at the music label. And then Freddie, you know, Freddie was kind of on her activism tip, and then eventually she decided to become an attorney, which is like more traditional. But before that, I don't really think Freddie's path was that clear. And then with Denise, we see that episode where Denise's parents were a little bit frustrated as she kind of explained how she was constantly job hopping and they just didn't really understand it. But I would say further in the show, we do see Denise take her education very seriously. But for each of them, I would say whenever they did find something that they were passionate about, despite their kind of like unconventional like nature and free-spiritedness or whatever, they did take it very seriously. Overall, while these four characters remind me so much of one another, when I watch these older sitcoms, I really appreciate the diversity of personalities in the various Black women on screen, because while this trope of like the free-spirited character appears through the four of them in each of these sitcoms, each show had a variety of other unique personalities in them as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please subscribe and comment down below any similarities or differences between the four of them that you've noticed.